Shocking news out of the Middle East as Israel carries out airstrikes against Hamas leadership in Doha, Qatar. Well, what happens now? Middle East expert Mark Halawa joins us now from Jerusalem. Mark, what can you tell us about these airstrikes?
Thank you for having me, Raj. If we get any interruption right now, any extra noise from my phone that I cannot mute, it's from critical alerts we're receiving right now due to missiles being fired at us from Yemen, affecting the Jerusalem area where I am right now. This is great news. I'm not an avid promoter of Al Jazeera. I never watch Al Jazeera. It makes my pressure go up because it's all lies and propaganda. But today, I had to flip to see Al Jazeera to hear it straight from the mouth of people who live in Qatar. The first thing I heard from a reporter saying, okay, we've been approached by security officials who said we cannot film. I'm like, oh yeah, they cannot film in Qatar, the propaganda mouth of the country. Now, as the news was confirmed that Israel have conducted airstrikes, I saw a ticker at the bottom of the channel that I shared with you earlier, saying that Hamas reports to Reuters that the entire delegation has survived and nothing happened and they're alive and well or something like that. They didn't say alive and well, but they survived and they're well. First, I thought about it and I thought perhaps it was a missed opportunity. Yeah, this is a propaganda machine, a propaganda channel versus the Israeli army and the Israeli ministers who went right away and claimed the operation and said we have a high probability of success. These guys, I don't want to call them gentlemen, these terrorists, the heads of Hamas, which is the armed the armed faction of the Muslim Brotherhood. These guys are the worst of the worst. They have their own agendas. They operate in their own world, disregarding the lives of many, whether it's Israelis or Palestinians, and put us in danger since the early 90s when they started operating and with suicide bombings and attacks. These guys were not hiding in a maze under the ground in Qatar. They're above ground. All of them meet them together. So I hope, like everybody else who's watching the news today, that this is confirmed and we got them.
Okay, so Mark, obviously for those of you who don't know your story, you grew up in Kuwait, your native language is Arabic, you were born to Palestinian refugee parents. You know, last time you and I talked, you were in the UAE, so if anyone knows the Middle East, it's you. You know, it's an interesting take, it's a unique take to say that this was a great thing. You know, a lot of people see, bombs going off in Qatar, not Syria, not Lebanon, not Yemen, not Iran, but Qatar. And it's like, is this another front? What's going on? People are confused. Why do you think that this is, quote unquote, a good thing?
We need this war to end. This is an ugly war that nobody wants. Nobody likes war. It traumatizes people. It prolongs, the conflict, death, destruction. I don't need to explain more about this. If the heads of Hamas, who are calling the shots, are prolonging this and quote unquote, negotiating in bad faith and trying to get scores against Israel, if these guys are eliminated, the small guys who are in Gaza right now holding hostages or continue to have weapons on them and ready to fight, might just drop it and fight amongst each other and perhaps release the hostages. That's my hope. The terror attack that we had in Jerusalem, my town, not too far away from where I am right now, I'm right downtown. I'm talking about 10, 15 minutes. Jerusalem is a big city, but at the same time, it's like a small town. In an area of remote, killed innocent people in the morning, going about their lives. This was instructed by one of the guys who was in this meeting in Doha. So this is a big deal. It's important to just end this once and for all. And Qatar has been challenged and finally called to the task. And this is an Arabic saying that everybody's been repeating today on social media. تلعب بالنار بتحرق صبيعك. If you play with fire, you burn your fingers. And the day has come for Qatar to be called to task.
Well, that's a question that I have for you that I do find quite interesting is, when it comes to the Abraham Accords, Bahrain, UAE, people talking about Saudi Arabia, looks like there's positive movements in even places like Lebanon. There's just a lot of interesting things happening in the Middle East. But Qatar stands out. It's a small country, but it definitely pushes above its weight when it comes to global influence, right? And obviously, you are. I don't know anyone who has more expertise when it comes to different perspectives in the Middle East than you. You've been everywhere. You kind of are a mixing pot of all of the different cultures and ethnicities and nationalities. What is Qatar really about?
I could go on and on about this for a long time, but I want to say this just as brief as possible for people just to gather the main picture. Qatar is that sworn supporter of the Global Muslim Brotherhood organization. Now, it's a small country of less than 1 million people of local citizens. Less than 1 million people, maybe less than 700,000. Now, they have all the money in the world from gas and natural gas and oil. Through the International Muslim Brotherhood, the Global Muslim Brotherhood organization, which was founded by the maternal grandfather of the sitting emir today, Emir Tamim. He interfered and caused havoc in different countries, including here in Israel, in Arab countries. Jordan, Egypt got the big effect of the interference through the Muslim Brotherhood takeover of President Morsi, and different governments in the West as well. And so without going further with this, they are their sworn support of the Muslim Brotherhood. They hurt their own neighbors in such a way that they were boycotted by all the GCC countries, the Gulf Cooperation countries, came together and said, we're boycotting you. We're closing our borders. We're not exporting. We're not allowing exports over. That's it. We had enough with you guys. So this is the game that they play. They think they could support that big caliphate, extremism. Their effect and their money reaches everywhere, whether it's in the United Kingdom or Washington, D.C., or the mosque in the smallest city in the United States of America. Through the Muslim Brotherhood, they flourish and they expand, and that's their power. And they think they could play the double game of being, the negotiator, the one who wants to mend and extinguish fires, and the ones who are behind Hamas. Don't tell me you have no say over Hamas. This is a dictatorship. Nothing flies without them agreeing on it. Everyone is on a leash in that country, in a tiny monarchy. So Hamas calls the shots? No, they call the shots. They're playing games of power. God knows what the games of power are for today, for tomorrow, for 10 years from now, oil and gas passages through India, I don't know what the bigger game is. I'm not at that level of thought. But they're competing with their neighbors. Now, we heard condemnations from various countries in the Gulf, countries I respect and hold utmost respect really for, and I visited a few times. I think this is all lip service. Behind the scene, people are happy that Qatar has been called to task. This is the second time, by the way, Qatar has been hit, actually like bombed in the last 3 months, if you remember, once by Iran. And now this is like the real deal. And a tiny country, probably the entire country shook with these 11 or 12 heavy precision bombs dropped on the capital.
Well, when Israel and the United States hit Iran, people were saying that, this is going to be the next Afghanistan war, the next, forever war the United States gets involved in. Obviously, that didn't happen. When people thought the war between Israel and Hezbollah would be this absolute bloodbath where there was just going to be an indefinite war on the north, this really hot war. That didn't turn out to happen. And obviously people are saying, Israel's, striking Qatar. What does this mean? In your estimation, does this kind of end here, or does this escalate to something? In closing, Mark, where do you think we go from here?
I don't think there's any escalation, military escalation from Qatar that would not come about. I think it's time. I think Qatar just got a wake-up call right now. Wake-up call. You meddled with this since the beginning, like everybody else who had a hand in the October 7th. And I'm not saying Qatar had a hand in October 7th, but they harbored the terrorists that received the news and celebrated it in the palaces in Qatar where they're standing. I'm talking about the Hamas ruling class, the guys who were eliminated today, please God. They all bowed down with that famous video, bowing down, thanking God for the carnage that was inflicted on Israeli civilians, women and men and children. I think it's a wake-up call, and Israel means business, and I'm not sure Qatar could do a thing. They have soft power, maybe money power amongst capitals around the world and politicians, but military, I don't think they would dare even challenge Israel.
Well, Mark, I appreciate your insight, my friend.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice to see you.